If you live in a democracy, odds are you're concerned about how divisive your country's politics have become. Political polarization is tearing at the seams of democracies all around the world, whether it's Brazil, India and Kenya, or Poland, Turkey, and the United States. We wanted to find out how similar and how different is polarization in all of these different places. Why is polarization coming to a boil in so many different countries at the same time? Is it the result of particular polarizing leaders? Does social media get the blame? And perhaps most importantly, what can be done to start to overcome divisions in a society that's become deeply polarized? How to restore national consensus and some sense of healing of the basic division?
To answer these questions, we worked with scholars from around the world to conduct 9 in-depth case studies. And the diversity of these cases opened our eyes to a series of surprising discoveries. You might expect, for instance, that a growing economy would ease polarization. But we found that in some places, like India, it actually intensified the problem. Just as strikingly, we found that the potential for damaging divisions exists in almost all societies, even ones that seem relatively homogeneous. Now, the relationship between populism and polarization also turned out to be much more complex than we anticipated. In some countries, like Poland, illiberal populism came first. It then fueled the rise of polarization and ripped the society apart. In others, like the United States, polarization emerged long before the current wave of populism. It then helped a populist leader come to power.
What concerned us most is the lasting damage that polarization causes. Polarization tends to escalate quickly, often in the space of just a few years, and then it digs in. It can cause legislative gridlock. It can drive politicians to undermine the independence of the judiciary. Polarization shatters basic democratic norms like compromise and mutual respect. It can lead to disturbing rises in hate crimes and political violence. These kinds of consequences only further drive polarization, dragging countries into a negative, downward, polarizing spiral. Overall, the picture is sobering. Countries that have become deeply polarized have a hard time reversing that pattern. Our research, however, shows that actors in many different places are undertaking measures to try to address polarization, sometimes with positive results. In Kenya, for example, after horrific electoral violence, civic activists and some politicians drove forward needed constitutional reforms. In India, the Supreme Court has been pushing for greater accountability for hate crimes and political violence. In Ecuador, a new president has been reversing the polarizing tactics of his predecessor, even though he's from the same party as that person.
Divided democracies have a lot to learn from one another about how to manage or at least limit polarization. Regardless of which side of the political divide you fall on, I hope that's an idea and a mission we can all get behind.